Hey guys, it's Al again, and I'm in a bit of a dilemma. My boss is looking to have me take up extra shifts at work now that I'm out of college. Now I need an excuse as to why I can't make it in. If only I could think of something. That ought to work. Jokes aside, what you're looking at right now is the Awdry Extraganza, hosted every year since 2021 on the Tallyclyn Railway in Tywyn, Wales, to honor the life and work of Wilbur Awdry, the author and creator of Thomas the Tank Engine. It also serves as the only excuse I could give my British uncle for why I willingly went to Birmingham.
You what?
But anyways, the railway was opened in 1865 and functioned like just about any other railway at the time, shuttling both goods and passengers to different parts of the region. However, I'd say our story gets started about 86 years later, in 1951, after the death of the railway's owner, Sir Haydn Jones. Due to the railway's age and the fact that it was functioning independently of any larger company, railway enthusiast Tom Rolt formed a preservation society in order to keep the engines and their home alive, which led to the Tallyclyn becoming the world's first preserved railway, with the majority of its workforce being volunteers. A year after preservation began, Wilbur Awdry would bring his family down to the railway and would write about his experiences in the 10th book in the railway series, Four Little Engines, which saw the introduction of the Skarloey Railway, which was a direct homage to the Tallyclyn, though it wasn't mentioned there. As I mentioned in my Art of Thomas video, the 12th book in the railway series was originally intended to be the last. However, when Awdry was convinced to continue, the Skarloey engines appeared multiple times, with a lot of changes being made to them based on whatever changes were made to the Tallyclyn. Not only that, but the Tallyclyn got referenced more overtly as time went on, to the point where they'd basically just be advertising it. And while the Tallyclyn was never referenced in the show, the Skarloey Railway's appearances and adaptation definitely helped to boost the former's visibility. Which brings us back to the Awdry Extravaganza, which is basically a mix between a fan event and an official convention, as not only was it endorsed by the railway itself, but also featured various alumni from the show, as well as prolific figures within the Thomas community, many of which I actually got to meet. The first of which being Veronica Chambers, one of Wilbur Awdry's two daughters. Like many, if not all the attendees I met, she was extremely nice to me, and actually sent her regards from Christopher, Wilbur's son, as he wasn't able to make it that year. Anyways, after that, I went to a table where a lot of people were showing off their custom Thomas trains, of which I actually brought a few, alongside my take-alongs of James and Percy, which have a bit of sentimental value to me. After which I was hit with the triple whammy of seeing SudrianRails, Terrier 55 Stepney, who would wind up on BBC News like a month or two later, and usual Bloke Luke in his cosplay, which now that I look at it, feels like one of those I hate gay Halloween posts. The table wasn't the only place that people were showing off their custom models though, as some were actually running them inside a tent that was right next to it, and even having a few little impromptu races. And it was around that area where I managed to snap a picture of someone's model of 10 cents, as well as Redimus' O-gauge Lord Harry that he built from scratch, which was followed by me snapping pictures with both George and Duncan, or at least what was left of him. And once I got my fix of that, I finally decided to hop on a train down to Abergynolwyn Station, but not before snapping a selfie with Thomas Theorist. Anyways, at the station, they actually had a display showcasing all of Wilbur Awdry's original models that he had constructed based off the characters in the books, which I actually thought were replicas at first. And right across from that was actually some of the models from the TV show, those being Rheneas' body shell and the full large-scale model of Skarloey, as well as a multitude of the different facial expressions that the characters would have used, specifically for the large-scale props. And once I was done there, I hopped on a train back to the main station, where I caught a glimpse of Car, a vehicle used in the Awdry Extravaganza specifically to race with trains, of which it won this time. And after all that was said, I snapped a few pictures of the engines, snapped a picture of the diorama that was used for the Just Like Awdry diorama challenge, and went back to the place I was staying at for the event, all in my first day.
Oh my god!
Now, if it wasn't obvious, the first day there was definitely the bulk of my experience, but I still think that the next day had more interesting stuff to talk about. Now, the second day started out pretty similar to the first one, though instead of taking pictures of the engines, I wound up filming them as they came to and left from the station, all while biding my time to hop on the picnic train, down at the end of the line. And it was there that I met Enterprising Engine 93 and Sensahthe, who photobombed the selfie. Don't worry, he got his own picture. By the time we got back to the main main station, it was already raining very heavily. So I decided to duck inside into a mini museum where various items from not just the Talyllyn, but other narrow gauge and even standard gauge railways were being shown off. It started with simple railway memorabilia, things like little children's books or model trains, along with pamphlets and posters, but then extended to actual tools that would have been used by men working there, alongside some other human figurines and props that were used in Thomas. They even went so far as to showcase rolling stock and full-on engines in the middle of the building. Upon going upstairs, I actually managed to get a glimpse of the Awdry study, which I did not have tickets for. But considering how much stuff I actually got to do at the event, I feel complaining about it would be pretty dumb. Anyways, once I'd had my fill of that, I went out to the platform where I snapped a picture with Michael Evans, formerly known as Thomas Fan 8, and SleepyHenry, who had actually gotten married at the Talyllyn Railway a year prior. And after all that, I took a picture at the booking office and filmed the video that you guys saw at the very beginning, capping off my trip. And 2 days later, I eventually made my way home, and missed my connecting flight back to Ohio. But save for that little hiccup, I had a really great time at the Awdry Extravaganza. It was nice to not only get out of the house, but actively engage with a fandom that I had been a part of for so long. I can't wait to show up again next. Well, I don't have to worry about going to Birmingham anymore. Yeah, as it turns out, I was pretty lucky to get to go when I did, as the Awdry Extravaganza is set to go on an indefinite hiatus after the 5th one. Luckily though, the railway itself is still open, minus the event. So if you ever want to go down and visit, I recommend it heavily. As Thomas Theorist said, it's nice to visit these kinds of locations when there isn't an event going on to see how everything is. At the same time though, this makes me even more thankful that I got to go to the Extravaganza at all. So, for the Awdry Extravaganza, I bid you farewell. For now. What's funny though is that this isn't the first Thomas related event I've ever been to, as I actually got to go to the Day Out with Thomas back in 2015, Thomas's 70th anniversary. And back in early 2018, I actually went to the Thomas and Friends exhibit at Kosai and took a few pictures with the models that they had on display. But with that, I've reached the end of my journey, and in turn the end of this video. So, why don't you guys tell me down in the comments section, have you guys been on any big trips over the past year or so? If so, where did you go and what did you do? Also, as a bonus question, tell me, where you plan to go in the future? As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe today to join the A-list. Have a great day. Bye!